Hello guys and welcome to another video. My name's Mark, I'm an entrepreneur and property investor, and in today's video we're talking about the power of leverage, and I'm going to go through exactly how you can make leverage work for you, but also, as you know on this channel, we talk about the risks as well, because I'm not selling you a course, I've got nothing to try and pitch to you, I just want to give you the information and make sure that you can make informed decisions. So guys, if you like this level of transparency, if you like this sort of information, please give this video a big like, it helps me out with the algorithm. I think we're at over 2,000 subscribers, which is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all so much. And if you haven't already subscribed, why not consider subscribing? So guys, let's talk about the power of leverage and what leverage actually is. Now, leverage is the ability to borrow money against an asset. So for example, and I'm going to use a good example for you. If you had a £50,000 deposit and you bought a £200,000 house, you'd be using 75% LTV, 75% of leverage. Now that mortgage, the leverage involved in this, you will pay an interest rate on. Now, we're going to completely discount the fact that you're paying this interest and that you've got a tenant paying all that. We're just going to look at the capital side, because for leverage, that's the bit that really matters. So over the course of 10 years, I mean, some people say 12, some people say 8, but generally over the course of a decade in the UK, property prices are on average about double. So we're going to work on that basis. Now, we can spend lots of time arguing about that figure, but ultimately, we live in an inflationary economy. The prices are going to go up over time, but we're going to look at a 10-year period and the property prices double and it becomes worth £400,000. Now, what doubles at that point? Is it the £50,000 deposit? No, of course not. It's the house value. The amount that you borrowed, the £150,000, also hasn't increased by the amount that it's gone up. It's not an equity loan. You actually get to pocket the £200,000 profit, either by refinancing it out or by selling the property, paying a capital gains tax, but either way, that's a 400% uplift from your £50,000. So this is how leverage can work in your favour. And if you look at my portfolio, I've got about £3 million worth of property. I've got about £1.7 million, £1.8 million of leverage. Now, obviously, I've got rents that cover off the mortgage payments and cover off all the interest, and that makes sure that that's all taken care of. But as this property portfolio has gone up in value, and we've been tracking it over the last 3 months, it's currently up since July £33,000. I've achieved that as a capital profit. My mortgages haven't gone up by the same amount, but leverage has worked in my favour. Now, leverage can also work against you, and this is why on this channel we also talk about the risks. And it's incredibly important to talk about these. You've probably all experienced people who have told you about Forex trading when they're trading at margin, and that's just a speeded up version of leverage working against you. It works against you essentially in this way. Conversely, there are areas of the UK that suffered a huge depression. In fact, everywhere did in 2007, 2008. House prices over the course of a couple of years dropped by about 20%, so a huge drop. But there are some areas that it dropped much, much more. And I'm thinking of places like Blackpool and Middlesbrough, you know, places in the northwest, northeast that were really badly hit, and some of them still haven't recovered today. I mean, Blackpool, for example, still has a shrinking population. There are lots and lots of cities up there where if you take inflation into consideration, they still haven't reached their 2007 peak. So I think it's really important to bear leverage in mind on both sides of the coin. So if you, again, to use the same example, to buy a house with a £50,000 deposit using 75% of leverage, you'd be able to buy a £200,000 house. Now, if we suffered a 50% correction, and some of those areas it really was close to 50%, you'd be looking at that property only being worth £100,000. Now, you'd be down 100k, but the most important part of that is you'd be in negative equity. And this is the bit that really matters, is the negative equity of 50k. That's where you owe the bank more than the value of the property plus the deposit. You owe the bank more. This is known as negative equity. And this was a big problem in the late 80s, early 90s. I remember my parents in the early 90s when interest rates reached something like 16%. I remember an argument where they were talking about, just hand the keys back. We can't afford it. We're in negative equity. And this is what this was all about. Now today, we live in a bit of a different environment. We are very much in in the information age, and we are very much in the habit of printing more money and creating inflation when we need to. Back then, we very much tried to defend the pound. Today, we're happy to print the pound. So it's a very different environment, but that's not to say that those sort of things couldn't happen again. It's really important to understand the risks. So for me, as you're scaling a portfolio, I think leverage is incredibly important. I think it allows you to borrow more than you have, as long as you do your figures, as long as you work out your return on investments, as long as you bake in a bit of risk, then you can grow a portfolio using not only your money, but also the bank's money. It's what makes property such a great investment case. But as your portfolio grows, as the problem becomes larger into the millions, I think you need to start mitigating risk. So I think with every business, there's this cycle, isn't there, where you grow and you mature, and then you eventually quite often decline. Now for me, I very much want to make sure that I've finished my growth phase, and I'm not sure when that finishes for me, but probably around 10, 15 million pounds worth of property. I don't really have a desire to have 100 billion or anything like that. I think 10, 15 million is about the sort of mark that I want to get to. And then I just want to mature it out, de-risk, make sure that my leverage percentage starts to come down, my risk starts to get mitigated, my monthly profit starts to increase, and then from there I will allow that to create a legacy for my family for many, many years to come. So guys, let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are on leverage. For me, I think it's incredibly important when you're going through that growth phase. I'm going to be approaching the de-risking phase probably in the next 5 years. At that point, I'm going to allow the property prices to increase whilst not refinancing, and that will de-risk my portfolio significantly. But I'd love to know what your plans are down in the comments. Guys, if you haven't already given it a like, please give this video a like. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope I've explained what the power of leverage is, and I hope you guys can use this information to help your portfolios grow. I'll see you soon, guys.